Greetings everyone, this is Ehav Ever from the Chronicles of Ehav Ever, and today's video is going to be based on a question that I was asked in a forum of why did Hashem create so much space in space? Now just to start off with, this question was from basically someone who was asking, okay, well, space seems so vast, why would, the source of creation, according to Torath Mosheh, create so much space out there with so much emptiness in it? So in this video, I'll do some levels of explanation based upon various Jewish ideas from Torath Mosheh. So consider the following. When we look at the world that we live in, we have a world that's full of things that are microscopic things on a level that we can't even see. So we could look at one level and say, okay, well, I'm bigger than the microscopic world. So maybe I am the source of reality for the microscopic world. Maybe I could be worshipped, maybe I can be, things like that. But generally speaking, we know that we don't have the ability on a normal level to be able to see what's happening in the microscopic world, not with our physical senses. We have to develop technology for that. And even the technology is somewhat limited in what we're able to see and understand in that world. So then the next thing we also could say within the genetic makeup of all life on this planet, for example, there's a certain level of superiority that a person can say, well, I'm bigger than the DNA strand. Even though I'm made up of it, I'm still bigger of it and I can control it. It's something that I can latch on to. So that's, a perspective that a person may take and say, okay, well, anything that can create the microscopic level and the DNA level, we're humans. We can mess with that. We can play with that. We're bigger than all of those things, so it's not of a lot of relevance to us. But then a person starts to kind of expand this further out and says, okay, well, biology, there's a lot of complex systems as well as complex structures that exist in the biological world that we can physically interact with. And there are things there we don't quite understand, for example, as why certain animals are able to do certain things that they're able to do. Well, where their path in terms of the evolutionary track is and how that works exactly. Not, saying we have theories about it, but, to actually have seen it from start to finish. That presents a level of, mystery, but it's still something that a person can say, okay, I'm still bigger than that. Whatever put that in place, it's obviously not that much different than me or bigger than me. But then a person gets into looking at the planet. Okay, well, the planet's obviously bigger than all of us, and if someone were to take a picture of the planet from the outside, they won't see any of us on it. And you could even say if an alien species that was flying around were looking, they would look at this and say, okay, well, let's keep moving. I don't see anything happening here from this distance. So a person could say, okay, well, whatever is able to create a planet, okay, it's bigger than a person. I have to give it some level of respect, but maybe it's like the sun or the moon or, any something that I can see in space that may be bigger than the Earth and it's bigger than me. But, there's a certain level of complexity that comes with something that can create a planet. Because, of course, as we said before, you look at the microscopic level, you look at the DNA level, you look at the biological level, and now you're looking at the, I guess you could say, geography, of such a place. Whatever created it has to have had some pretty complex systems, an understanding of systems to put all this in place, no matter what we think about the system. The fact that the system's here and we can't recreate it means that on some level, we are on some level insignificant in comparison to whatever can create a planet. To go further out, the Earth in comparison to other planets, and other moons, and even the sun that's in our solar system, where you could say, okay, well, whatever they can put a solar system in place is obviously more complex than a human, obviously, is more advanced, than anything that any, human can come up with at the moment. Nothing in humanity currently has us on track to be able to create planets as well as a solar system. And nothing that we're currently on track for shows that we'll ever be there to begin with. So then a person can say, okay, well, whatever created a solar system is way beyond me. But possibly if I can get to Mars or Jupiter or Uranus, maybe I can have some level of control over whatever put all that stuff in place. But then you get into another problem. Supposedly, and again, this is, don't take this as something that this picture is a real picture that someone took outside of our galaxy, because nothing's ever been outside of our galaxy. The closest thing has even been partially outside of our solar system, but it's just making it outside of our solar system. But essentially, if you were to estimate, you could say that, okay, in terms of our galaxy, our current location in the solar system is somewhere where you see that little arrow potentially. So whatever could put the solar system in place, was obviously bigger and more advanced and more powerful, obviously, than human beings. Whatever can create a solar system obviously has more know-how, intellect, on whatever level you want to place these things, to create these systems that exist, and no human has ever recreated them, and no human has ever even come close to putting something in place that's even as close to complex as this. And a person could even look at this and say, potentially someone could say, well, DNA, I can look at my DNA as being information, no different than what a computer uses on some level. There's a certain level of programming that goes into the ability for humans to interact, to advance the way that we do, but something had to predate all that in order for us to have it as we have now. But whatever can create a galaxy, is obviously something way more advanced than any human being, and is, in terms of its scale, even if we're not saying in terms of its size, in terms of its scale of, I guess you could say matter manipulation, intelligence, all of these things, it's way beyond the human at this point, because there's nothing that shows we're on track to anything close to this. Once you get outside of the galaxy that we live in, you're outside of the solar system, you're outside of the planet, you're outside of anything that any human can grasp, and our technology allows us to see these things, but not really interact with them. A person could say, wow, look, there's other planets out there that may mirror what's on this planet, but we have no way to get to any of them. And our current track of technology doesn't seem to point to anything that directly puts us in, like, let's say a 20-year, 100 years, 1,000-year frame of ever getting to these places. So then a person says, okay, well, wait a minute. Whatever put that in place obviously is way more advanced than any person, is way beyond anything we can do, and is obviously not a part of the system that it put into place, because it wouldn't make any sense for it to be inside of the system somehow. This is when person looks into what we can see in the universe and say, okay, well, that's the hand of creation, that's the this and that. But then a person would say, okay, well, wait a minute, if this is the hand of creation, why would it be inside of a creation itself? Why does it need a hand? It created hands. We're just simply putting off on something that exists, our own perceptions and things like that. But whatever is able to create these things is way beyond it. And one of the reasons we can say that is because, if I understand correctly, this is only one of the type of telescopes that have been able to see this, but this is not how that stuff really looks if we were to use our own eyes. This is a recreation based upon our technology to try to see what's exists in space. But if we were to physically see something like this on our own, it would be, I would say overwhelming, because of the fact that it's so beyond what we're able to perceive in our own, particular area of the universe, our area of reality. And we go beyond all of that and say, okay, well, there's something that put the entire process of a universe in place, meaning that at one point there was no universe, and then at some point something caused an event to happen where there was a universe. And whatever amount of time that took, in terms of our understanding, it would be like it's an infinite amount of time, because, how can we, really understand time beyond, the time of, frame that we live in. But even beyond that, for something that created all that, it's like saying that, okay, well, that's nothing. Creating a universe with all the different variations that it took to get here to our point in the universe, to our time in the universe, that's nothing. Whatever put it in place, it did it. It didn't have to say, oh, maybe I'll do that next week. That's a little too hard. We're simply just recipients of something a process that was put into place that we had nothing to do with. And on some level, it's like saying that's way beyond us. So we even look and say, okay, well, space-time. Space-time is a part of the idea of creating something. When there was no matter, there's no time. When there's no planets, for example, there's no time. So that whatever created space-time, is way beyond anything that we can understand, because we've never created space-time. We could try to put mathematical equations together, or have conceptual constructs to understand it, but we've never created it. And that's the thing, that we're very limited in terms of what we can do on our own reality. So whatever put that in place is way beyond us, and no matter whether we like it or not, whether we like the reality or not, whatever put it in place is way more intelligent than we are, and it has a level of intelligence that can't even be equated to human intelligence. And that's the thing about it, that it's like way beyond anything human. So then this is where something like where Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon mentioned that when a person looks, into the sky and sees the reality that exists that's way beyond us and way more complex than we could ever understand. And we look up and it puts us in awe and puts a little bit of fear into us because there's so many structures and processes that are way beyond us that we have no control over. And he says that this is what causes a person to love the source of creation, because of the fact that humanity can exist in such a complex, in such reality where we're so small within the whole picture of it. So this brings us to the Torah and also to Jewish text. In the Torah, at the very beginning of the Torah, it begins with what's called Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Bereshit meaning at the beginning, Elohim, the source of creation. The idea of something that is powerful, and is beyond any power that exists. And Shemayim being that we have something that's beyond matter. Haaretz is matter. So the actual, looking at it from this perspective, what we see is that one of the things that were explained by Chazal, by the rabbis in the Torah, concerning the Torah, is that when Moshe ben Amram, when Moshe Rabbeinu, or people in English call Moses, when he was telling the Creator that, that he wanted to, understand the Creator, and basically understand the ways of the Creator, one of the things he was trying to say was, I want to understand how you operate in reality, how you, manage reality. And one of the things he was told, what's in the red here, is "Vayomer lo tochal lerot et panai ki lo yoreini ha'adam v'chai." So one of the things the Creator told him, Hashem told Moshe ben Amram, was that you can't fully understand, the way that the Creator works in reality, and basically be alive. It's like saying, well, we're limited to a physical life and physical bodies that are such a small part of reality. There's no real way to fully understand it. And what Hashem did was gave him what's in the green, where he says, "V'ra'ita et acharai ufanai v'lo yira'u." So basically, Hashem gave him, kind of a bit of a piece of what he wanted, saying that, okay, you won't be able to see the full amount, but I'll give you whatever's available to a human being. The maximum that a human being can accomplish, that's what you'll accomplish in this lifetime. And essentially, it's like saying, so when the statement says, you won't see my front, but you'll see my back, essentially what the Creator is saying is that you'll be able to see what's available to humanity, but you won't be able to see beyond that because, again, you're limited. Because of the fact that, let's say if there's billions of years of processes happening, and you as a person may live like, let's say, 120 years, that's not enough time to fully understand it. You would have to be beyond our human existence in order to understand something like that. And further to this point, in the book of what's called Tehillim, there's a statement that's made, in English you call it Psalms, that says, Lama nasech livnei korach ala alamoth shir, Adonai tzavaot imanu misjov lanu elahi Yaakov salom. So one of the things that this is supposedly written by the sons of Korach, and it says that Adonai tzavaot imanu misjov lanu elahi Yaakov. And what it's essentially saying is that Hashem is basically almost like saying way beyond us, massive beyond us. But the fact that the Creator of all things is willing to deal with humanity as we are, even with the Creator of all things being beyond us. And that's one of the things that is important to this idea that when you have something that is complex, it creates systems that are complex. So because of the fact that the Creator is way beyond humanity, the universe has to be way beyond humanity also, in order for us to understand that point. And that's something as Torath Mosheh Jews that we understand and learn, that if it was just a matter of the planet, a person could say, well, the Creator of all things is not that complex. It's just one planet. There's nothing else out there but us. So maybe if we learn how to master the planet, we are the creators of all things. We're way beyond the Creator. But if a person says, okay, well, it's not just the planet, it's way beyond the solar system. Well, okay, that's not so easy to do right now. But maybe one day we'll get to Mars and we'll be able to figure it out. Someone says, well, it's not just the solar system, it's the galaxy. Okay, well, now we're talking potentially humanity won't even survive that long to get to the point to do anything in the galaxy. The person says, well, it's not just the galaxy, it's way beyond that, which you would call the universe, which has, as far as you're concerned, you would never get to the end of it. So this is one of the reasons that we understand, in terms of Torath Mosheh, that the Creator of all things is way beyond humanity, is not something that we contain. We don't control the Creator. The Creator is the source of creation for us. And as the Torah tells us, that the Creator of all things created the universe as it is in order to benefit humanity. So it's no different than when someone says that, the existence of life on this planet is partially because of all the processes in the universe. So if there was a solar flare that took place thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, it's a part of what makes the current planet we live on what it is. If there was explosion of a sun somewhere millions or billions of years ago. It's a part of the process that exists right now. A being, or if you will, something that is complex will of course create complex systems. And I look at the way that, for example, I wrote a novel not too long ago, which the first one I wrote was like 400 pages. The second one I've written recently is 500 pages. A person can say, well, why write a 400-page or a 500-page novel? Because I think complex. Someone can say, well, why not just make it one page? Because that's not the way I think. I'm beyond thinking of one-page, writings and concepts. So this is just something from Torath Mosheh that may help. And I hope everything's doing good with you. And take care. Thank you for listening. Bye.